just to introduce everyone, I'm Railcoon, Tech Volunteer Coordinator. This is Muffins, Head Volunteer Coordinator.
I coordinate them.
I'm Ted. I do the donation volunteering.
I'm Edipine. I do the host volunteering.
I'm Church. I do the check-in volunteering.
I'm Angel. I do the photo and camera volunteering.
And the guy you can't see walking in the back of the room is Darkman, and he does social media and panel volunteering.
He'll be down here shortly.
Yeah, because he had us reorder the panel so he could go first. We're not changing the slides, though.
Oh, it's reordered, right.
Thanks.
No, just don't go in yet.
Yeah, it's easy.
No, don't bother.
This looks very uncoordinated.
Hi.
Blame Darkman.
I've been homesick for 2 days.
Just blame me.
There we go.
All right, Darkman, let's
Hey, I'm hungry.
do this.
I am hungry, by the way. So, yeah, real quick, just want to talk a little bit about social media volunteering. So for those watching this at home, congrats, you can be an off-site volunteer. That's cool. So in addition to the on-site volunteers, we do have off-site volunteers as well. And I'm just going to lift this off right here because this is really awkward. Perfect. So you can volunteer at home. We usually post applications like, a couple weeks to a month before the event starts. So pretty simple. We're just looking for people that have some kind of like social media experience. You don't need to be like somebody who works for a company or something like that. Just somebody who likes using Twitter a lot and knows some good basic manners basically on Twitter or other social media channels. So yeah, that's really it. It's not that complicated. In terms of what you do as a social media volunteer, it's really simple. You post a lot of memes, all the time. I love memes. But yeah, no, seriously, we just basically post throughout the event. Most of the time it's on Twitter. We do some Facebooks. I, for now, just do the Instagram. Who knows what will happen in the future, but yeah, that's pretty much it. If you enjoy kind of hanging around, posting what's happening within the event, you really love just like seeing the runs, watching the stream all the time, while kind of tweeting about it or Facebook posting about it, this is kind of the thing for you. Usually at most, it'll be like 12 hours a week in terms of like a 4-hour shift, so 3 days a week for 12 hours total. So it's not too bad. So if you do have more questions about that, you can always reach out to me on Twitter. I am the Darkman78, or Discord, Darkman78. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go eat now because I'm hungry.
Thank you, Darkman, for rearranging the panel so I could be alive during it.
So just to briefly touch on what he talked about, main thing of this panel here is it's our goal to make volunteering more accessible. A lot of people look at volunteering and it's a scary thought. So we're here to explain it, break it down into smaller pieces that are easy to understand, and also just make it clear that it's not as hard as people seem to assume. What he mentioned is true. We try to limit the number of shifts that people get whenever possible to make sure that you still have time to enjoy your week here, since most people are here on vacation. We don't want you to be working the entire time. In the actual exception of a few people who actually do want to be working the entire time here, they tell us that we shift them more, but you can always give us your preference. So
Our standard rule for it is no more than one shift in 24 hours unless you're one of the people that aggravates us to no end and insists on having more shifts.
it's pretty accurate. So next up, we're going to make tech the scariest of the scary, less scary. So of course, we have to start with a TaskBot meme. It's required. And then a silly picture, just to get the point across that tech is not as scary as everybody thinks. We had some tech people in here before. I see one still, at least. Not you, Maddie.
When is the last time you were a tech volunteer, please?
2012.
Okay, so that's not relevant anymore. Still not relevant anymore.
So as these two pictures get it across, for people who walk backstage for the first time or see our switcher box, it can be very intimidating. But the point is, it's not the entire picture you're looking at. All of the jobs for tech can be broken down into very simple parts. And if you're so lucky enough to get one of these shifts this marathon, you're going to be sitting there on stream tech, and your entire job is to make sure the stream doesn't explode for 3 hours.
And posting memes.
Yeah, reposting memes from the Twitter. because they hit the Stream Tech dashboard. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But when you're on one of these shifts, we encourage people to maybe bring a phone or a 3DS or something and just look up at the stream every couple minutes and make sure it's still on, because that's pretty much what these shifts are. It's the easiest shift you can get at a GDQ, but we just want to break down the shifts. Every tech shift has these 3 goals. When the stream is running, you're basically just making sure it doesn't explode. It happens from time to time, but thankfully not very frequently. But having a volunteer whose job it is to be a wacky waving inflatable arm man is helpful when the things do explode. They help with us setting up the next game, getting everything right, and then the producer is the main one that handles the third part, but if somebody absolutely needs some information, then make sure it gets passed along to the relevant people. So monitoring the stream, you're going to be looking at OBS. You'll see that in the bottom right, there's no drop frame counter because we moved it, just because we thought your job just needed to be very slightly difficult. It's now on a separate PC. But this is mostly the role of the stream tech, to look over the stream and make sure it's still running. You have to look over the second PC for frame drops, but the other thing is just looking at the video feed. If anything looks wrong, sort of raise your hand or stand up and go grab the producer, and listening to stream audio through the headphones. If you hear something that sounds wrong in the headphones or you're not sure, you just call for help. Be like, hey, is that supposed to be like that? And then somebody will come over, they'll take a look at it, they might ask to hear it as well, and they'll make a judgment call. We always prefer people to come over and ask if something is wrong, even if it's not, over them sitting there kind of just not being sure and not saying anything. So setup, we've got this lovely thing on the Stream Tech dashboard. It's a checklist. It's your best friend. If you're not sure at any time what to do during setup as a tech volunteer, you can always look at the checklist. You'll see that it's split between Stream Tech duties and Stage Tech duties. So for either tech, all they have to do is be like, wait a minute, what else was I supposed to do? And then walk over the PC, they look at it, and they're right. Get right back to it. Some of the tasks are handled by others. The audio engineer, producer gives the okay on the camera, and the host and the audio do the ads. But if you look back at it, we'll show it again later. There are checkboxes that the Stream Tech can't do, and it's handled by other people, and they turn green when they're handled. When everything's ready, the producer will be like, okay, we're going to get started. That's when they press that button in the bottom left to cycle the recordings, and that means we're ready to start. Like I said before, coordinating with others is basically the job of the producer, but if you have something that you feel really needs to be brought up, you talk to the producer, because they are your main contact. Or if it's something you feel not quite as important, you can ask the stage tech, and the stage tech will probably just bring it up to the producer anyway, but it helps if you're still feeling a little bit uncertain. The producer's job is to make sure that everybody is working together as a team. So they're running around, talking to the different volunteers, coordinating them basically, and that's why I fell off the stage at SGDQ 2018. I mean,
True.
He's not wrong.
so even though people like me occasionally fall, don't be afraid to ask questions. It's not your fault.
We have backups for this stuff.
The nurse fired me for the week. I wasn't allowed to work. So sometimes things go wrong. You see in the bottom right, setup took 36 minutes. But that wasn't anybody's fault on the volunteer side. So just because this happens, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. This instance is a good example of this because we had some strange tech issue that we still are not 100% sure what caused it. We wound up switching a power strip, and that made it work, which doesn't entirely make sense. So we had some problem on our end. The volunteers did the right thing. They called for help. We got the senior tech staff down here, and they started fiddling with things. Eventually, that means they switched the power strip, kind of a why not decision, because there were a few issues with the power strip earlier in the week. It might have been the cause, or it might have just been a coincidence. but it's a good example of it was such a strange problem that the stage tech and the producer probably wouldn't have thought to do it on their own. So that's why you call for help. The main reason we want to drill into your heads to call for help is we want it to be moving up the chain as fast as possible. If you don't know how to fix it, you can try one simple thing, ask for help, producer might poke at a thing, and then they call in the senior techs. I don't have to add a lot to this one. I just wanted that picture in here. And this is really important because people don't think about this, but we value people who ask for help higher than people who are very confident that they know what they're doing. Because the people who are very confident that they know what they're doing often don't ask for help. They sit there and they struggle with it for 10 minutes because they think they can fix it on their own. Sometimes they can, but other times when they hit a wall, they will often not ask for help. So being that person who knows when you're in over your head and you need assistance is something that I, as a tech volunteer, want more than an expert in the field. Unless the expert in the field also knows when to call for help, and then that's amazing. Stage tech, they get this scary little picture, but that's a lot simpler than it looks, because this is the replacement for our matrix. You see at the bottom, we've got inputs. At the top, we've got outputs. You touch it and you drag. It's smart. All it does, it will prevent you from making decisions that don't make sense. If you try to drag HDMI to CRT, it'll think about it for a few seconds, decide that doesn't make any sense, and then say no. Because why would we ever want to route HDMI to a CRT? Any other time, if you route an input to an output that is already mapped, it'll just override it, and that's all you have to do. If you look on the left side, that's where we plug in consoles. We have 3 main types of connections, and they're all labeled. If you want to learn more about stage tech and actually plugging in the consoles, our orientations are always open, and you can walk in and get taught about it. But the other thing stage techs do is to keep the shelves tidy. We have a big shelf with consoles and cables, and we keep it orderly so that during setup we can find everything we need easier. If we have to sort through the cables and be like, okay, where's the Genesis cable? I knew it was here before. It makes setup take a little bit longer. So keeping everything by its console helps out a little bit. We're using them to help inventory our tech shelves this event. May or may not happen again in the future. And if we've got a long run and we had for example, a SNES that was misbehaving during a run, we'd give them the SNES, all of the cables that were involved, and maybe another SNES, and have them just hook it up to one of the TVs and see which part was the problem. Was it the SNES? Was it the cable? Swapping all of the parts out to find which one of them is causing the issue. It's just an easy thing they can do, so then we can hand it to our tech staff and be like, hey, this cable needs replaced. Or this Super Nintendo is misbehaving, and maybe one of them goes to try to repair it, or we give it to World 9, because sometimes they repair our consoles.
There's one other thing Stage Tech does. You get to handle fancy wet wipes.
Oh yeah. We have the medical grade wipes that we use to wipe down the headsets on stage, because that's just let's prevent the GD flu measure. And the important thing with that is make sure you wear the gloves. If you touch the wipes too long, it'll dry out your skin, it'll be uncomfortable, but it's not really going to do any long-term damage. The more important thing is if you get some of it on your skin and then you're tired and you rub your eye, that's going to be a bad time. So if you get any of that on your hands, don't touch your face. Tell the producer, go wash your hands. We don't want to mess with it. So this is the dashboard. This is the lifeline of the Stream Tech. And again, it can look a little bit scary, so we're just going to break it down into parts. This is the schedule editor. It shows the current game and the next game. You see in the bottom, you can edit current and edit next. At any point, if you need to change any of the information here, you just click that button. They're in very easy fields to edit, and you hit save. If it's a multiplayer run, like if it's a race or co-op, there's up and down arrows to simply rearrange the order of the runners on the screen. You don't have to rewrite any of the information. It's just very easy to understand. Here is the current. It's very slightly different now, but one of the recent checklist iterations. This is the main place you look to during setup. Okay, which of these have I done yet? And if you're not sure if a task is done, you just ask your producer. You should be in the area. This is the timer box. The timer is very robust. You can make a lot of mistakes with the timer, and it makes sure that it's not actually a mistake. If you hit the finish button too early, the timer is still running in the background. It'll turn into a resume button, and you hit the resume button. Same thing with the forfeit button. If you have a race going and you hit the wrong order, you can edit. You can resume the person that you accidentally finished, and then finish the correct person to edit their time. Every iteration you can do of making a mistake with this timer is fixable unless you reset it, and that requires a confirmation dialog. So unless you literally hit reset, hit yes, without even looking at it, and you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't have reset it, that's the only way you can mess up with the timer. Everything else is recoverable. This is a list of upcoming games, and you'll see there's an interview here. It's how you know when we have extra things like ads or interviews. Interviews are handled by the interview producer now. When they're ready, they switch to the interview, and they switch back to the break screen when they're done. So StreamTech doesn't even really need to do anything with interviews. They use that time to set up. Down here are a bunch of options. Most of these are gone now. I think it's just milestone tracker now, but that'll be on most of the time. And every once in a while, the producer will tell you to turn it off. If you enter your shift and it's off and it's been off for a while, you can ask the producer if there's a reason. There might not be, or it could just be a tech issue and we just have it off temporarily. Twitter display, as she was talking about before, when our social media interacts with tweets, when they like them, retweet them, they'll appear here. And you have the option to display them on the stream. We just want to make sure we don't flood the stream with tweets because it will cover up our sponsor overlay. We do want our sponsors to have time to have advertisement during our runs, and it also draws a little bit of attention away from the run. So pick the best tweets. You can queue them up in order really quick, and it'll display the slideshow one at a time, and it'll go back. The main thing is sometimes you will get tons of tweets, sometimes you'll get no tweets. When you have tons, you don't need to show them all, just pick the best ones. And if you don't get no tweets, you don't need to worry about it. Our social media fluctuates on interaction depending on how the run is going. Long runs where people just get really focused, they're not looking at their Twitter, they're just watching the run. So you'll see those are the empty ones. And fan art, when we get tweets that include pictures, it goes over here. These can only be displayed in the break screen, and it follows pretty much the same rules. As I said before, this is a very quick overview of how just all the parts are pretty simple, and you have somebody like the producer there to help you guide you through each step. If you want to learn more in depth about anything, most of the volunteer roles have open orientations. What's the one that doesn't?
Audio.
Audio is the one that does not have an open orientation. But everything else, you can show up for an orientation, even if you're an attendee. Just learn how it works, just to see if you're interested in it for future events. And in case it wasn't clear, ask for help when you need it, please.
That already happened. It can go away.
This is wrong panel.
Yeah, this both already happened and the panel already happened.
That was our
All right.
check-in guy.
Hi, I'm Church. I do check-in. So check-in's pretty simple. It operates as the event desk for the event. So we answer questions, give directions, stuff like that. General event information, like where rooms are, stuff like that. But the main job we fulfill is giving out badges for the event for people who have registered several months ago. It's pretty simple. Check ID, make sure it matches, give them the badge. If you have any issues, there's a staff member with you, they can help you. That's pretty much it.
Very simple.
Thank you, Church. You can go back to check
All right,
in now.
bye.
Bye.
I'm totally not on shift right now.
Yeah, he's on shift right now.
Church, isn't this you too?
No, that's me.
Oh, it's you? Okay.
Yeah, so this is a new thing we have now that we're trying out, and it seems to be going really, really well. So at previous events, we've just had a room where everyone threw their board games in with no oversight. People would just bring their games to play. And for obvious reasons, the bigger the event got, the worse this got. So people would go home with the wrong games, I know there was a really fun triangle of everyone taking the wrong exact same copy of the game. Just things like that. So we're trying to make sure that people actually get their actual stuff going back, and not everyone takes care of the things that they take out this time. So we had the board game librarian, and what they do is they check in and out games like a librarian. But in reality, they mostly actually spend their entire shift playing board games. Or explaining board games to people that have this huge stack of board games behind them. They're like, I have no idea what any of these are. You have a nifty sheet when you're there that tells you a brief plot synopsis, how difficult games are, and their estimated game length. So you can kind of give very easy advice for what people should play. And yeah, you get to meet a bunch of new people because I try to pair everyone up with someone. So there's a shift, so you have a shift buddy in case no one is around, so you have someone to play games with. It's really just scheduled gameplay.
Yeah, you sit there, you play board games, people walk up, you might talk to them, give advice, check out a game every now and then, and make sure people aren't like trying to walk away with games without checking them in. That's
Yeah,
much
the
it.
one that we're pretty sure people are going to need to bring their stuff back because they can't really leave the event very well without what we take from them since we take their license. So if they do manage to figure out that this board game is, more important than this license, well, we have their contact information. And this is the other one, is enforcement. So we try to have at least 2 enforcement volunteers on schedule at all times. What happens with this is also fairly simple. You make sure people have their badges. If anyone is acting up very poorly, you tell staff. You're not required to actually interact with any of these situations.
Do you have your badge?
Yeah, it's in my purse. Hi.
To be clear, by telling staff, it'll usually just be me pinging them on Slack. You don't have to track down a
Yeah.
staff and be like, oh my God, I need
Yeah,
help.
you basically use Fancy Adult Discord and tell someone and ping staff members that something weird is happening. There's a drunk person. Okay, staff will deal with that.
Hey, this guy looks like he's asleep in the practice room.
Okay, I'll go wake him up. It's just stuff like that where it's just the staff will take care of it. You're basically an extra set of eyes and occasionally hands, if we're going to be honest, because you're going to be picking up a lot of empty cups.
Hey, this person just ignored me when I tried to badge check them and just walked straight in.
Was it me?
Yeah, actually.
If I do that, you do get mentioned with a kudos, by the way, in the evaluations.
She's sick.
I'm really sick. Oh, yeah. Dark Man is still hungry. Hopefully that's being satisfied. Here you go, Angel.
Thank you. So, photography, it's also lumped in with camera operators, meaning the interview section and the main stream camera. So starting with photography, the purpose of photography is to,
Take
capture a
pictures.
moment of the runner while they are at their, while they are at a moment where, this could be their only time that they're going to be on stage in front of this many people. So we want to give them, kind of give them something back and kind of capture that moment when they are, when they're running. Another thing we do is we also help social media with their quest to find memes and push, these sort of panels here. Like, for example, there would be a photographer down here taking photos of this kind of panel to show people. But, we're all down here, so we don't have too much in terms of, like, telling what to do. But we work in tandem with social media. We have a Slack. We have a really nice computer that we've built for editing. So, there's no need for that, high-end equipment. We also rent Sony mirrorless cameras. I'm not sure if anybody shot mirrorless cameras before, like these professional cameras. I brought my own down here. They're like this big, they're really light, and they're really awesome. And, the lenses are also very light. So when you shoot exactly as you see it, meaning I can train a whole lot of people on how to shoot because it's a lot less shooting and peeking, a lot more of just hey, let's sit here and let's shoot together. So if you ever had any kind of just like niche for photography, or if you ever felt like hey, I want to do something great like this, please volunteer. Like, it's not as scary as it sounds. I will take my time. I'll make sure that you can shoot on par with everybody else before I set you on your own. Like, I've talked to a lot of volunteers, and they say that's the best part is learning how to shoot professionally. Because a lot of people like to take photos, but maybe you just don't know what it takes to kind of get to that next level. So, if you want to bring your own gear, you are more than welcome to. We do ask that you edit on our computer during the event. It is kind of our photos, but at the end we'll release it, and you're more than welcome to use it for your portfolio or anything like any of that sort of thing. So if you're like, hey, I want to just build my portfolio and get better photos, by all means, please, come on down. We'll help. Mutual gains here, but you'll. One of the benefits, I think, of my shifts is you get a lot of creative freedom. Meaning, my minimum is I just want a photo of the runner while he's running, he or she is running, looking great. That's the minimum. And if you want to take one photo per run per shift while you're doing your shift, sure, that'll get you through it. But you have a chance to, you're playing around with, about $10,000 worth of equipment that we're letting you use. We have another, pretty high-end computer, at least high-end for my version. Some people have been like, hey, it needs more RAM. Yes, you've been one of those, yeah.
Why don't you just download more RAM?
Just download more RAM, yeah.
I think there's a 3D printer here. You could print more RAM.
Oh, thank you. See? Solutions. But you can also, go around and start taking photos of the next big thing. Like, you could be, I think years ago I went down to the tournament room, and it was just full of these guys playing Zelda and Link to the Past. And I was and they were all super excited. They had their computers out, they had spreadsheets out, and they were doing it. And I was like, well, hey, what's going on, guys? And they explained to me this is randomizer. So I got, I talked to them. They kind of explained to me how randomizer works. We pushed it up to social media. And, years later, look how big this has become. Like, you never know what the next controlled Super Metroid run will be. And
I think the important one is honey percent.
Honey percent, yeah. And like, social media will just start, like, paying, like, hey, there are people playing Ocarina of Time right now with their hands dipped in honey. We need photos. Because, right, how the hell does that work? So we had to go, right, so we went down there. I went down there, and there, sure enough, there was 4 people in front of CRTs with bins on their laps, just completely covered in honey. And occasionally, somebody would just walk by and just smatter it all in their hands, and they were just sitting there. Controls completely busted, right? I don't know if you know the Nintendo 64 controller is not meant to be played dipped in honey.
For the record, I did ask. The controllers were already broken first.
Okay, ooh.
So they're putting honey on something that's already not working and hoping that the buttons still continue to work.
Sure, that and the stick was just like gone, right? It was getting stuck. What was that? This actually
This is very
You can actually look back on our Twitter and find it. I think it was 2 years ago at AGDQ.
Yes.
Yeah.
AGDQ 2 years ago, 100%. Ocarina of Time. The turning was difficult. Rolling was sometimes it worked. I don't know. I think most people just got to the Deku tree and just kind of got stuck on things.
stuck on things.
Literally and figuratively.
Literally and figuratively. And it's great. You're taking photos. You're waiting for people to kind of show the reactions, right? You're getting close-ups of these amazing, dribbling of honey. It looks like, kind of these food porn things, but instead it's a controller, right? But yeah, that was kind of a fun thing, and we like to know about this sort of things, and we're working all the time, so it's fun to see these kind of great photos being shared. Like, hey, there's people dripping honey on their controllers. There's Makuyama playing Terraria with Connect or something like that. Subterraria. Thank you.
Terrania, excuse me.
Subterranean. See, hey, thank you. Don't ask me about these. So that's what you do. You're kind of sharing the experience to everybody, and we're memorizing. memorializing these moments and capture. And you know what? Sometimes they're real subtle. They'll just be there for like half a second. The runner just kind of breaks their stoic look that they've had for about 6 hours and just smile or just laugh, right? And then they go right back to it. And if you capture that moment, right, you know, boom, like you might have made their brand new Twitter profile picture or their new banner, or you know, they use yours. Like Mitch Firepower, that his black and white photo, that's mine. And I took that years ago. So it's not really. I don't do it for you. Don't do it for the glory. You do it just to give something back. And this is like one of these positions where you can really do that. I mean, we're not. Trust me, we're not as critical as tech. They make the state. They make everything run here. But we're that next level of just like capturing moments. Something that video just can't capture. So that's that part, and then camera operator, which is a new position that we started. I don't know if we have a slide for it or not.
We do not.
Okay, great. So camera operator, which I'm overseeing, and we have so far has been managed by Richard, who is currently out. And that is adjusting cameras and kind of setting up the interview cameras and the main camera, as well as kind of doing kind of the prize stuff with the camera pans and all that good stuff. So if anybody has any kind of AV background, or if you touched live TV production, or you just like shooting things, you like recording, and you kind of have the basic, and you're not afraid to touch cameras. Please, it's a great position. We are very easygoing. We'll teach you. We'll get you where you need to be. So we definitely need these kind of volunteers because without cameras, without people behind the cameras, we can't function. So please take a look at that, and it's not as intimidating as it seems. I think what Alan does is way more intimidating. All those cables, no, thank you.
But will you teach me how to meme?
I cannot. That's Darkman. He's hungry.
Okay.
All right. That pretty much does it for me. My orientations are open. If you have any questions, I also please ask me if you have any questions. DSLR. If you want to kind of know what my skill level has to be. And by the way, the bar is not very high. Like, I will take anybody and I will teach them how to take photos, how to shoot photos on a professional level.
It's much easier than you think.
It is. It really is. And yeah, she's actually one of my photographers. I think Ted, I put a camera in your hand at one point. No.
No.
No, but
I've helped camera stuff though.
Yeah, you do. He does help with camera stuff. Everybody just comes by and just wants to learn, and people just sit in on it, and it's great, kind of a great skill to know. So please don't be afraid to try us out, but kind of give you another perspective of GDQ. You can see everything, So thank you very much. That's me. So we'll keep you going.
Okay, and this goes along with making the event more pretty, which is what he does. We now have stylists. It sounds complicated. It's, makeup artists that know how to do hair and stuff, but realistically, it's something basically anyone can do. What we do for them is, since we have these fancy lights now, they make people's faces shine a lot, like reflecty. And if you have people that get embarrassed by this, that makes them a bit more uncomfortable. So what we do is we basically just put powder on their face. It's anti-shine. It's clear. You can't mess it up. It's really just that simple, where you just don't get in someone's eyes and you're fine. And then there's combs if people want them, but typically people already have their hair set. So the biggest thing you do is you get to meet and talk to the runners and commentators, because you might be asked by the host to get some information, such as, when is a good time to read donations? I couldn't contact this person in the downtime between events. And they'll be like, oh, well, during this cutscene, that's fine. And then you just pass that along to the host. The other thing you do is there's a really easy spreadsheet. I don't know if people noticed this year, but we now have commentators in the descriptions. It's the stylist that collects those, so we can put them together.
Should I show it?
No, do not show it. So yeah, it's really just, has the game name and the names of the commentators. That's literally all it is. That's the most easy spreadsheet that we have, I'm pretty sure.
It's pretty easy, yeah.
Oh, donations. My turn. What do we do? Well, basically, we look at every donation that gets donated to PCF or Doctors Without Borders or SGDQ. So every single donation we get, whether it's blank, the memes, the jokes, the good, the bad, you name it, we see it. And someone, a regular donation volunteer or a head donation volunteer, will look at that throughout the entire event. I think if you go to the next page, it shows kind of what it looks like. Yeah, so we get donations. This is what it looks like. Just random statistics. AGDQ generally averages 40,000 or more donations throughout the event. So we see 40,000 of those, and we make one of those three options on the right there. We have approved comment, send to reader or host, and block comment. It's literally all we do. If we approve it, it goes to the website, great. Everyone can go and look at it if they want. Send to the host, pretty self-explanatory. You think, hey, this is a great comment, and I want it to be read on air. And then block comment is just for inoffensive material, vulgarities, harassment, stuff like that. The charities we represent have to be neutral stance, so anything that out in the world that people consider controversial, we have to keep that in mind when since we represent the charities. That's really all we do. So it's pretty straightforward. But we have interesting statistics based on all of this. We didn't put it in there. I just got to talk about it.
Yeah, I wanted him to be able to see people's reactions.
Okay.
So since GDQ has been in existence with CGDQ, we have received at the beginning of the event, over 379,000 donations. And that's just quantity, that's how many. And currently in the event, we're actually over 400,000 total donations now through GDQ to the events, to the charities. Typically, AGDQ will get more. They get a little over 40,000 an event, whereas SGDQ is anywhere right now between 30 and 35,000 donations, and that's just pure quantity. And then now we get to the random things that the church gets to miss out on in his meme. So in over 3,000 donation comments, we've had greetings from Germany. Yeah. So, and Arby's. Did somebody mention Arby's? Because in 293 times, people have put Arby's in their comments. Then we also have Hey Bro Sencha, although he's not here right now. People have called his name over 250 times, mostly for puns.
So you're saying he's almost as popular as Arby's?
Yeah, he's getting close.
Okay.
Almost.
Also, a fun thing, just to add in a little note to the greetings from Germany, only 70% of those people are actually from Germany.
Yeah.
Dear God.
Yep.
We know.
So if anyone remembered SGDQ, Pepsi Man. It was awesome, right? Yes, we've had 615 comments talking about it. And this is probably one of the more interesting ones. This is our biggest bid war ongoing through all the events, is Save versus Kill the Animals. And it's been a bid 16 times. Its first bid was in SGDQ 2011. Earlier they said it was AGDQ 2012, but that was incorrect. And it has raised $2,764,060.23 in the 16 bids it's done.
So a quick question. How much does taunt add into that?
I added taunt into that.
Okay, good.
Taunt was only like $470.
It's the best option. You kill the animals and the frames.
But it gets a little more interesting than that. So currently, Save the Animals is winning in the overall bid war over these 16 bids. This was at the beginning of the event, so obviously this could have changed since there's a Save versus Kill in this event as well. Save the Animals has $1,392,080.29 over Kill the Animals at $1,371,979.94. So in 16 bid wars and 7.5 years now, the difference is $20,100, which
Save is currently winning, by the way.
I know Save is currently winning. Yes.
In the current marathon.
Okay, so Save is still ahead. But rejoice for the people that want Kill the Animals. In the bid wars, Kill has won 9 times to 7. So, and then this next one was a request from Darkman. even though he's not here, he wanted to
He's
know when
hungry.
the very first longtime viewer, first-time donor donation came in. And it came in April of 2011 for actually the Japan Relief Done Quick. So it wasn't even one of the main events. The first main event it appeared at was in AGDQ 2012. So, and then I also asked Cool Maddie before I got up here, this is not donation related, but just in general for volunteers. We actually have 183 on-site volunteers here. And then we have, I was talking to some of our off-site people later, earlier, probably around 60 to 65 off-site volunteers. So we have around 230 or so volunteers for
Does that
the
include
event.
the runner volunteers and staff that are also volunteering, or no?
That includes volunteers and runner volunteers, and the on-site, I did not count staff since we're staff.
Staff also tend to volunteer during the event.
Yeah. Oh, I thought did you have a
That's
question?
called
Rob?
running your
Yeah.
department.
I host.
Okay, you're right.
So, but that's it for donations. There's a bunch of random statistics in there, and there were just a few I looked up, and obviously very interesting. So,
Speaking of hosting,
Speaking of
yeah,
host,
host. our last one here, right? Hosting.
Hi, I'm Meadow. Charges the host volunteering. I actually feel like host is maybe the more difficult of the group, only because it's. I think the execution is not a problem, but it's also a little bit of acting and voicing. Obviously, you're the voice that everyone hears. They don't see you, but they hear you and they question who's the random person speaking and why.
who are you?
We read the donations, so we do cooperate a lot with our donation station, our head donations. Even though they send us the donations for us to read, we're still the really last, we're the proofreader. And just in case anything is to happen, we're the last double check, make sure that the comments are appropriate. And then we also have to make the decision if we read it, if it's unfortunately too busy, that we might have to ignore a comment. I know we never want to, but sometimes, depending on your shift, there's a lot of, races and maybe some prime time, runs going on that donations gets really cluttered. We have way too many. And then there's certain times where we need to maybe block a comment if we do find, that one chance that it gets slipped through, but it's really, really rare. I really trust my donation station that they do their job really, really well, and they do. We also communicate with runners. Basically, if we have incentives or goals that need to be met, because it's basically we want to make sure we're pushing it, making sure that these things are happening. Because the more that we're getting these incentives and goals happening, the more that people are donating. It's one of the reasons why we're the voice, or we like to let people know, hey, you want this silly person to wear a hat, it's $1,000 for this guy to have a hat. Do you want him to wear a hat? Yeah. And when we have really silly gimmicks, silly incentives, stuff like that, that turns into memes. Memes turn into funny donations, and then we're
Sploosh.
yeah, sploosh, kaboom,
or
stuff like that.
Or
As in the more technical side, it's gotten a lot easier. It does feel a little overwhelming at first because we have a lot. We have a laptop that has our ad blurbs, prize information, incentive information. Talks about our actual charity that we're running, especially for those that may not really know a lot about it but want to know more. Then we have our monitors, where we have one with our stream layout, one with our dashboard, which you kind of saw what a dashboard looked like on the tech side. It's not quite exactly like that, but it's a little bit similar. Now it's a little bit easier paying attention what's going on, where we're at, and then when we need to play ads now, we're in charge of ad breaks and basically playing those videos, stuff like that. But now everything is, it's all machines now. It's all technology. It's just push a button and let it do its thing, and it's pretty simple like that. I feel like the most difficult thing, though, about hosting, you got to be willing to talk. It's about pronunciation, being clear. I I don't want to sound discouraging. It may not be for everyone. But at the same time, don't ever feel bad to give it a go. We always do an audition in the beginning. Oh, you have it up there. Oh, thank you. There it is. I didn't know if you had it up there. So that's our dashboard right there. So top left corner is where we can put our name on there. It only shows during the break when they're doing setup. For the very longest time, everyone has always asked, who is that person that's talking on the mic? I don't see them. So they therefore do not exist, but I want them to exist and know who they are and maybe follow them. So we put our name on there now for that.
You're also in the YouTube description.
Yeah, that's true. And then we have the information of like the how we are so far on our money goal. On the very bottom right there, you have our challenges. It'll show you what it is. So like say, for instance, we want this.
TaskBot incentive.
Yeah, TaskBot incentive. Okay, we want to get TaskBot. It needs to raise 100,000, and it'll show you where we are at the moment. When it's finished, if it's met the goal already before like our cutoff, it'll be highlighted green. I've never seen a red. I don't even know if we do red anymore because I've never seen it. So we've done a pretty good job of keeping all our incentives and goals met. On the bid wars, that's going to be more like one versus the other. So like save or kill the animals. And it'll say what is in the lead. Or file names, which is another meme popular thing to do where people like, okay, I want to name this character Arby's. And basically there's a list that you'll see. And if there's more, there's a section where you can pop up another window that shows exactly everything that's on there. And then it's prizes. Prizes, you don't see anything on there, but it just tells you what is going on at the moment. It will adjust in time, depending where we are in the shift. Then you have your rundown, which is the exact same thing as tech. It's just going to show you what game's going on, what's going to be going on after, whether it's an ad break or an interview. Ad breaks are very important because there are videos, which it just plays automatically. You don't have to do anything. But then there are images, which is just a still image. And we have to talk about the actual sponsor. So if we have like something like say Fangamer, I have a blurb on my laptop. It tells me just a couple of things, and I just talk about it. Say, hey, Fangamer sells shirts and merchandise and cool stuff, and you can join here. Go to this link. Blah blah. It's very very important that we are being there for our sponsors. That's why we do that. And then it shows the gaming in the middle. Nothing really you can touch. It's just there, so you know what's going on, what's the game, who's running it, where we're at the time. Also has a timer there. On the very right is that interview and ads. Obviously, it's blacked out because it's not set up, but it's that
I don't
same
have
idea.
the ads on my laptop.
Is it on your laptop?
I do not have the ads on my laptop.
Nah, that's fine. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
we just have the test server running.
Yeah, that's fine. It's pretty simple. It plays, it goes automatic, it goes to the next one. If it's a still image, it will still do a countdown timer, but when the 30 seconds is up, you push the button to continue to the next ad. It gives you time to read your blurbs, so it's not like you're rushing, oh my gosh, I can't finish this. I gotta do this in 3 seconds, I don't have time. Do not worry, you have the time to do it. It goes to the next. If the image is the last one, it will tell you to finish the ad break, and it will automatically go back to the stream layout for setup. Oh my gosh, that's the thing about host. There's a lot, but it's not as complicated as you think it is.
Hey, Edo, you're forgetting the most important thing on it.
Oh no, what?
The top middle.
The top, oh yeah, take a breathe. That's what you have to do. One of the things about hosting is there's a lot of things going on. You gotta be communicative with your runners. I always suggest people to check out the runs before the event. Most people have them on their Twitch. Most people have them on YouTube to kind of get a feel of how the run is gonna be. So you kind of know, hey, you know what? This is a perfect time where I could read a donation. There are times where you may not be able to read a donation. It happens. It's not much you can do about it. I just did a Cuphead run just the other night, and I only got to read like 2 donations, and that was it. But at the same time, there was great commentary. There was so many things going on in the game, so they were explaining things, which is great. Once again, it's about having that connection with the runner and the commentators, because sometimes Like at nights is a really popular time where they're not talking, they're not really explaining anything. It's late. They might be tired.
Hey, TMR.
Hey,
Do you have
TMR.
time for a donation real quick?
Yeah. There's a time for
No.
a donation. No. No.
Sad
It's
days.
Cuphead.
It's Cuphead. No.
Yeah.
I don't get a choice. I think a lot of it is acting because you can read a donation, but then you can really read a donation. I have a $5 donation from Angel that says, "Good luck.
Greetings from Germany.
Good greetings from Germany."
And then,
Greetings from Germany.
and then last night during Wind Waker, we had, and the old man says, "It's dangerous to go alone. Take this orb."
Or Patty did a great job with that. So a lot of it is having energy. Like I said, acting in that sense. A lot of people want you to be the monkey that dances. Hey, can you do a poyo?
Give us the voice.
Give me a poyo.
Give me the voice.
And people are happy. Sometimes those can go out of hand though, like the
I
wasp.
have 25 daughters for you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
If you go to that YouTube video, there's a comment that totals up every single donation of a animal or person.
Yeah.
It's there.
This event, he got some donations on host asking him to do the daughters thing. He read one of them and he ignored the others because he didn't want to keep making fun of himself. And that's his prerogative. You can always decline being a monkey.
It's
Yeah.
also remember that the runner is the main object, not you.
Yep.
Exactly. And sometimes runners are okay with that. Sometimes other runners, they're not. They feel like it's a little bit more distracting. Like I said, that's where you have to have that kind of communication with them, where you feel like, okay, I think we've crossed the line. We get it. That's the joke. We had that with Tej with the orbs, but he was
Orb.
like really happy with it. So he wasn't, and like I said, if he ever had said, you know what, I don't, that's enough, whatever kind of thing, then we would just drop it and then go on our merry way.
Yeah, Bobby was doing David Hayter impersonations during Metal Gear Solid.
Oh yeah, see.
He's got the voice for it. So, but they were all like on the couch, giving him positive feedback. Like those are really good David Hayter impersonations. So then donations came in.
And
for
that's all you did.
More David Hayter impersonations.
That's all you
so
do,
Solid
yeah.
Snake impersonations.
So I think we're about good for questions since we're basically talking
Yeah.
in circles. Yeah. So if anyone has questions, you're welcome
Yeah.
to ask.
Thanks for cutting me off.
Oh, that's where
They can be questions about anything for us as a volunteer team instead of like specific questions to our departments.
Hi. So Marvin, you mentioned that the board game kind of coordinator manager is a new role here at AGDQ 2019. Are there other volunteer roles that I guess you can disclose and discuss that has kind of been in discussion or being considered for future GDQ events?
For the past couple, we've added like one role. For example, I think enforcement was SGQ 2017. I think something like that
Somewhere
for
around there. It might
enforcement
have been
for it.
AGDQ.
Because I think it was that hotel. It was the last Marriott, I thought. And we had the stylists added in that. We honestly don't really know what we're gonna add until we have the staff meeting afterwards.
Yeah, by and large, a lot of volunteer positions we create come about via necessity. So it's something where, how do we improve this? And either, people are like, we need more people, or it's, hey, this is a good idea, let's try it. But those are kind of just things that come up in, this is feedback during the event, and we're like, this is a great idea, let's do this next time. And because obviously doing it in the middle of events is a lot harder just to set up a full position and area for something that you didn't think about before the event. So I don't think there's been a position that has been created that we didn't sit down and say, hey, this is something that needs to happen. So like tech, for example, with Railgun, it used to just be one tech person. If you want to.
No, I mean, it used to be myself,
Yeah.
Test Runner, and OmniGamer running the stream for pretty much the entire event. And then having to like con somebody to come over so we could go sleep.
And then it was down to one person shifted for every 5 hours, I think. And then it went to 2 people, and then we reduced it to 3 hours. And then we actually had to define what each of the people were doing. So it's been a road to get to where we are now for it. That's been a lot of trial and error.
I think as we're getting bigger, that there has been like adjustments with some of our volunteering. It's not so much like, oh, we need a different kind of volunteer position, but it's changed. It's gradually changing. So we don't know what it will be, but once again, we don't know until something comes up. And
Like the board game people going, hey, a lot of my games got messed with. I don't think I'll be bringing board games if you don't fix something.
yeah,
So we made the librarians.
yeah.
Yeah, so just as a note, we don't actually own any of the board games in the board game library. They're all brought by attendees
Most of them by World 9's Mike.
or Twinge.
He brought like 3.
Oh, did he break his car?
No, he just didn't want to bring a ton.
That's fair.
Thank you very much.
Thank
welcome.
you.
Test, test, okay. I believe I heard correctly that a lot of the roles for volunteering we can at least learn on site. Edo Bean, I understand why auditions are necessary. For the donation filtering stuff, is that also auditioned, or can we preview it, or how does that one work?
So there are 2 positions for donations. We have the regular donation station and head donations. There's no audition required for donation station. Generally speaking, throughout the events, I have anywhere between 30 and 40 donation volunteers per event, and you do regular filtering. Head donations is generally something that I kind of vet people from the donation pool of volunteers, and I reach out to them usually in between events or at the event and kind of give them extra training from some of my more veteran people to then look for new head donations. It's rare that I would take somebody who's never done donations before at all and make them head donations, just because there's quite a bit more tasks and responsibility involved. You help the other 2 people there. You have to be able to answer questions. If something on the regular donation breaks, you would kind of be the first person to help them as head donations, but there's no audition required. I think the only spots we require auditions is hosting, and then I think we also require some. We looked at like some portfolio work for audio techs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the thing
We haven't
is-
touched audio at all for a reason. It's
Yeah.
we're trying to make volunteering sound not scary.
Yeah, and basically every volunteer submits an application, and they select which stations they would like to apply for. One of the main things I tell people is fill in the miscellaneous comments field. I get way more applications than I can use. So if your comments are blank, I'd have no idea why I should pick you. So just explain what your mentality is, why you want to volunteer for which station. And yeah, my station stage techs, they get picked from veteran stream techs just because they have more responsibility. And we want to run them through stream tech a couple times just to see how they handle stressful situations first. But there's no auditions, you just send in an application.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. So you mentioned the number of volunteering and the time. I noticed when I came here Saturday, there was a huge number of people in the stream room doing setup. How is setup tied in? Is setup involved with volunteers at all? And what are their optional or requirements?
So we basically, we require NDAs for volunteers now for anyone that goes backstage, which means that we try to have setup volunteers be only those that have volunteered in other positions as well, just because paperwork is annoying. But basically what happens is a week or 2 before the event, I send out an email being like, hey, the World 9 truck is coming at noon on Wednesday. Who's going to be there? And setup duties basically involve moving heavy objects, doing tedious paperwork, such as making sure all the badges are printed correctly, or making sure that, or this event, there was a lot of checking in board games and weighing them and that sort of deal. So it's, the actual tech parts are mostly handled by staff at this point, like for wiring.
They'll still sometimes just
Yeah.
ask for
Yeah.
bodies at the early points
Yeah.
where they're like, hey, I need you to take this cable and walk this direction with it.
Or could you gaff down the cables? that sort of deal. So it's not it's a lot more manual labor than the other positions are. So we just basically just send out an email with a general schedule, and I ask people to tell me when they're going to be able to be available for that if they feel like it.
So that is an optional portion.
Yeah, you're not required to do it at all.
Okay.
Or tear down, either one. That's entirely up to people if they want to help with it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd suggest if you are filling out that volunteer form, fill out your preference for which department you would rather be in, because there's only so many people who want to take photos, and there's only so many people who can do different departments. But it helps us quite a bit if you tell us that you'd rather be in one department or the other, because we'll try to accommodate as much as we can for your preferences, because we don't want you guys doing something that you're miserable in. But if you happen to put in, like, say, photography as maybe I'll do it, and it's like a far distant third choice, and then it becomes your first choice, and you're not too happy with the position, and we didn't know. So
Yeah, we have our own internal order that we have selections for, so that the skilled positions get filled first, and then the ones that need the most bodies. So if you don't put your preferences, you're just going by ours.
Yeah, especially if you're one of those people that just says yes to every position.
don't be like that.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for putting on the panel, first of all. And a question for Edo Bean. I was just I was just curious, when you're going through host auditions, do you have a chance to listen to everyone? And are there...
Okay, so
Okay,
here's the deal with auditions.
I know everyone wants to ask about it, but
It's
I
changed a
figured...
lot over the years. What it used to be before, it used to be, send us an audio clip of you talking about yourself, stuff like that.
Right.
Now we
Can I
do.
say what the favorite one is? Butters read us a chapter of Game of Thrones
Okay.
in one of those auditions, and then I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Now we do an actual video where we do ask a runner to basically play a portion of their run of a game, and it's usually about like 6-8 minutes or so, and we basically kind of have you go through a live kind of simulator, so to speak, of how it would be like if you were actually doing hosting at the event. We get a lot of auditions. Jeez, how many did we have this time?
Over 100.
Yeah.
And they were 8 minutes, they're 9 minutes each.
Yeah.
And the people, every single person on the host judgment panel listened to every single audition.
Hello,
Oh, wow.
prospective GDQ hosts.
My name is Azrae, and I'm going to take you on a journey on Stylists Mountain. And also, a little birdie told me that Stilt Horse is the greatest of all creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go crazy.
You hear the same introduction
It's
over and over again.
not the easiest, especially because, do not get me wrong, there are a lot of talented people, but we can only accept about 26 or so. It doesn't seem like a lot that we're accepting, but it is, and it's helpful. But at the same time, like when we're reading about over 100 auditions, tend to be people that kind of sound the same. So it can be a little difficult. That's why we now have a lot more people involved for the host judgment, so that it's not completely, I guess you would say, biased. Because obviously when you just have the same people doing the judgment, then obviously, we're going to be picking the same people, but we also want it to be fair. I do feel like we always have a good amount, like half veterans, half are new people. And unfortunately, it's not the easiest, because I could have someone that has the most godliest voice but can do a horrible job when they do hosting live. And I've had that happen. Or I've had people where like they do it and then they didn't really want to do it anymore. And then we have people where we're not sure, but they're maybe not as so confident in their audition, but then when they actually do their hosting shift, they're amazing. They save us and stuff like that. I'll admit, when I did audition, I was not the most confident. I was actually very nervous.
Had this wonderful thing that we came up with called the Bean Protocol. that was basically someone sitting next to someone to make them feel better during their shift.
Yeah, definitely. I know how
It
that
was her needing
That
someone to
was
sit
me.
next to her.
I think
It
I
wasn't-
did that for her once at least.
Yeah, there
That
was
was-
at least 3 different people that did, but yeah.
And when they did that with me, and when they had me do my host, they're like, "Wow, you do a really, really fantastic job." And I actually thought I did really horrible. And so there's a lot of judgment going on with auditions, but I
Just
encourage people to do it because you just never know. And you may not feel like it. I've had people that did auditions, and then after they emailed us saying, "You know what? I did the audition. It was fun, but I don't think this is for me." And may not be for everyone.
And
So.
just to make it clear, we have like a panel of judges,
There-
and we have a couple staff members, but we open it up to volunteers to help us. It's basically a volunteer who doesn't want to host. It's like, you will not be able to host if you help us judge for this event. And then they help us by scoring, and we take all the scores. We look at them. If somebody's an extreme outlier, like if they're rating everybody just 10s and not actually judging them, we might throw out their scores, but we have enough
Well, I mean,
that's
unless
fine.
if that happens and they're all the same, that's fine. The problem is when they're clearly pushing 1 or 2 people with their score differentials that are very odd. So we do look at that and we remove those scores then. But we have about 20 people that start off, and out of those 20, maybe 10 to 12 will actually be able to finish and get through all of them. This event, I think it was 18 hours of audio to listen to.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Well, I very much more appreciate what you guys do in the selection process now. So thank you for fielding questions.
Yeah, the other thing is, if you do send in a hosting audition and we do grade it, you are welcome to email us once we've sent everything out. I send out an email saying, yay, you were selected, or boo, you were rejected. It's not actually boo, you were rejected. It's like, I'm sorry, you weren't selected. You're welcome to reply to that email asking for what your scores were, and we can give you feedback.
Also, if you do get rejected, don't ever feel, I guess would be the word butthurt about it.
I would say attacked.
Once again, when we can only choose 26 about, and you have over 110 auditions,
You didn't
obviously.
necessarily do anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's that other people were just better. That doesn't mean you didn't do a good job.
Yeah, sometimes you just didn't get the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of.
You're qualified. You hit every check in the box, but we have also we have 20 or 40. We have 40 of you. We have to choose
So,
from.
a good example from this event, since I know this was posted about publicly, Skybills did not initially make it as a host. And I don't know if everyone knows her. She's been a standard host at every single event. The only reason she was able to get in is because we had a drop, because she was literally the next score down. So just that sort of level of, these are people that are always there, and yet it's still very, very, very close. I think everyone that got in this event was within 2 points of each other out of 50.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Can be about anything volunteering wise,
And if you
volunteer
don't-
history or anything like that too.
If you don't, oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh no!
If you
what
don't
am I
Look
doing?
what you did.
That's fine.
If
I'll answer this
if
one.
you don't feel like talking publicly, you can always email us. If you email volunteer@gamesdonequick, it goes to all of us and church,
And church.
and Darkmind. So we will always be able to answer your questions that way in a more private setting, if that makes you feel better.
I think there's someone that wants to
scared.
ask us a question.
And
Hi, long-time watcher, first-time questioner. So what would you say, in general, makes a good quality volunteer?
Someone that listens and knows when they're wrong.
I would say someone that takes feedback really well and comes to us when they need help. I know I drove that in really hard, but sometimes that's not even during the event. It's just afterwards, like, hey, this little part of volunteering confused me. Was I doing something wrong? Did I handle this the right way? Because that type of feedback lets us know that maybe we can change our processes. Feel like, okay, we can make this part a little bit more easy to understand. And we don't get that feedback unless the volunteers talk to us about it.
I'm sorry, do you want to?
You can go ahead.
I think in my department for volunteer, it's taking the time to research, asking questions about how things are to be. Any kind of basically asking questions, because there's a lot, and sometimes, I'm not always there, or other people aren't always there that really do host, like Muffins, and they're not sure what to do or what to do in the situation, stuff like that. So it's basically asking a lot of questions. It's very helpful, especially since they're not sure if what they're doing is correct, and it helps them learn, and it helps them become a better host in the long run.
Another big thing for both donations and hosting is follow your gut. If you don't feel comfortable with something, there's probably something off. So with the comments that are going through, even if you can't articulate why.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what makes a good volunteer, volunteers that we pick time and time again when they apply, is really simple. People, they set aside time to volunteer for us, and they give us their availability. We schedule it within, reason. Most first-time volunteers, we rarely have more than 3 shifts all week. If you're here all week, for 4 hours, like Darkman said, 12 hours a week at most. And just, follow through with the schedule we give you. If something's wrong with your schedule, message us beforehand before the event so we can fix it. But then at the event, just work your schedule and show up on time and stuff like that. It always seems like basic knowledge, but it's a hassle when, we expect somebody to work, we'll say 11 to 3, and then they don't show up at 11. Now the producer's trying to figure out, all right, where is this person? It could be in the middle of a game change, whatever they're dealing with, a bunch of other things. And we just kind of lose track of that sometimes. And it's a lot smoother when people, work the times they committed to and help us out when they do that. And I mean, it's just super helpful for us. But then obviously as well, if you guys have feedback for us, just let us know. It's hard for us to know where to improve sometimes. Perspective is a big thing in terms of ideas. And, I've had people suggest things to me in past events for the tracker, for donations, that have been improved over the years because, beforehand we either didn't think about it or it wasn't something that bothered the people that were there. So it was never a thing for us. And obviously you can do that if you don't want to talk to us in person. You can email us at volunteer@gamesdonquick.com or message us in person, talk to whoever you feel most comfortable with for feedback and stuff like that. And what's that? Oh, okay, yeah. Please come down here, Maddie, when I'm done myself.
Excellent question, young man.
And
Excellent question. Yes, you can take over the panel.
I just want to add something because it comes up quite often. Obviously volunteering is an awesome thing to do, but some people also are interested in trying to become staff later on as well. And one of the biggest ways to get into being a staff member at Games Done Quick is volunteering. I would say nearly every single person in our staff volunteered at one point or another. So
It's not a guaranteed roadmap.
it is not a guarantee,
Especially if
but
you're going through tech.
but it is the number one path to getting there. So if you're really serious about it, you put in the time. You really you go above and beyond. That's what's really going to set you apart from everyone else, and that's what really puts you in for a potential staff position if we ever need it in the future.
I had the easy way. I was around early when we started growing really fast, and we needed more people.
I brought lasagna
And brownies.
and brownies.
Yeah, I was in just the right time at the right, right spot, right time. SGDQ 2014, I believe we were in Denver, and I just basically he-manned all of the donation station myself for most of the days. And then, we created my position for the next event. So
I did a lot of graveyard shifts that not a lot of people ended up showing for. And then one day they were like, here.
Hannah didn't want to do hosting anymore.
It takes a lot of time to do hosting.
Yes, it does.
This is why I have a department head for every single volunteer department.
I remember one of those GDQs where you yelled from across the room, Edo, can you do this shift for us at 4 a.m? Okay.
This was back when we could yell across rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to sleep at 11 a.m. last night.
I got my position by working hard. There was photography and there was photography volunteers, but there was no staff members. So I took it upon myself to train the other volunteers. I took time out of my schedule to come out here and go above and beyond. I acted like a staff member, even though I was a volunteer, within my boundaries, of course.
We have other volunteers who try to act like staff members, and they don't stay within their boundaries, and then we
Sure.
get really grumpy with them.
Right. So
They usually don't get asked back.
yeah, there's a limit, right? Of course, guys. I mean, you're not going to set, but pretty much we have a saying, it's like, act like the next person you want to be, right? So
I'd
show
say-
up on time.
I would guess that your case is very special, though, because you were around for years before we even had the volunteer photography position.
Right, but I had to work for that though, because there was a lot of volunteers, and I did the photography as a volunteer beforehand, and yeah, there was never guaranteed that position was going to be something. It was definitely something to fought for, and I think what Maddie says resonates with me. It definitely resonates with me because a lot of these staff members, again, they were around when the position was needed and it was created. And I kind of was in that same position there too, but there were a lot of other volunteers that they could choose from, and it was dark. It actually fell on Darkman at the time, and Darkman didn't want anything to do with that. Kind of the point I'm getting at is, if you're acting like a staff member, if you're seeing like us working hard, putting in extra hours, really, being available and putting in those and showing up early for your shifts and putting in the extra work like Edo does for all her stuff, right?
I would just say we don't need hosts saying that they would like more shifts. This happens enough already, and it drives Edo up the wall.
Yeah.
We have backup hosts for a reason.
And I still ended up back up being.
and hosting used to be something, hosting, I can't really talk for my department. I can't really talk for hosting department, but I know at least for the other departments, we're always looking for more hardworking people that want to put in that, we want to throttle you back. It's a lot easier to throttle you back than it is to be like, can you please show up to your shift? So that the person who just did a shift and has to run home doesn't have to stay here for another 20 minutes, or we have to call in a staff member to cover your shift. That's usually the worst part is when you don't do kind of your job. You're not messing us up because the stream we have redundancies. We will continue to stream. You're messing up your fellow volunteers usually. So that's kind of where
It happened last night. We had one donation volunteer scheduled to be on at late night. They didn't show up.
That happened last night. Happened the night before.
And we also
It's happened a lot.
it was also during Wind Waker, which was blowing up on donations.
Yep.
So
Yep.
our head donation requested a second volunteer, even though we only had one scheduled.
Yeah.
So
And they had started with 0 volunteers since the other one hadn't shown up.
And my
Yeah.
host was not there, but for good reason. They had a flat tire, so they were late. But still, when you don't have someone there, I had to stay a little bit longer, but that's okay.
Thankfully, we were able to pull the stage tech over, who was also trained on donations,
that was
to
the
fill
other
that
night.
in. That was what?
That was the other night.
Oh, that was the other night. My bad.
Yeah, last night we
I thought
had.
it was a long run last night. So.
Yeah, last
Okay.
night what
I
happened?
don't know what a day is anymore.
So I was on producer,
is it?
and it's my
Currently
job
Friday.
to find replacements when that happens. And so we went into Discord in the volunteer channel. By the way, join our Discord. It's very helpful.
Yeah, if you're a volunteer and you're looking to pick up extra shifts, if you join the GDQ Discord and get your attendee role, it'll automatically put you into a bunch of secret channels with volunteer stuff in it. And part of that is saying, help, we need people, please.
Yeah, it's the best way to pick up shifts because I had to go into that channel and be like, we're missing a donation volunteer, and also Head Donations is requesting a second one. And we had a donation volunteer drop by, and a host offered to sit on the second one. We wound up taking up their offer on it. Sometimes you can offer to cover for a shift you haven't been trained on, but it's going to depend entirely on which one it is, whether or not we take the offer. The head donations person wound up sending them both back to bed because they were both falling asleep, but they covered long enough for someone else to show up, and it was very appreciated.
Yeah. Host is a little different with backups because it's
Yeah,
you're on
there's-
call basically.
the entire event. If you're a backup, you just basically be, I'm usually awake during these hours. You're like, okay, we'll call you when you're needed.
And sometimes it doesn't happen, like what happened last night. So sometimes you just got to make a quick decision. Luckily, I was on the hosting position when it happened, so that was great. Otherwise, usually I get pinged, and I usually have to say, hey, can you ask them to stay a little bit longer until we figure out a replacement? That's usually what happens, so.
Okay, so is there any more questions on that? Yeah, so with that, I think we're just going to wrap it up. If you do have questions for us later, and you people on YouTube, you can leave it in the comments, or you can email us at volunteer@gamesdonequick.com, and the right person will answer you. So
That hits all of us. We used to just use that email just because if I'm asleep, it
if
goes
he's
to everybody
asleep,
else.
if I'm sick, if he's on vacation, it's always covered. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And for those of you kicking around, if you want to play with any of the dashboards, come bug Alan.